Okay, so when we're talking about domain and range, one of the things we have to understand it is not just the endpoints of the circle, it's the entire, I guess what we call diameter of the circle. So remember that when we talk about domain, we're talking about all the x's being used for the graph. So we want to start on the left side of our graph, and we want to look always going from the left over to the right, and we want to see where does our circle in this case start. So if we look at this and we drop a line down from the edge of our circle, we see that the circle starts at the value -1, and then we want to look at where the circle ends on our x. So dropping a line down from the end of our circle, it ends at +1. So our domain from this would go from -1 to +1. And since there are values on our circle at those 2 points, at -1 and at +1, we use what we call a squared off or closed bracket on each end. So all this is saying is our circle starts at -1 and ends at +1 on our x-axis. So specifically looking at the x-axis. So then when we go to the range, so remember the range are all the y values being used. Again, for the graph, same basic concept, just we're looking at the y's. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to look from the bottom and we're going to go towards the top. Sorry, my highlighter doesn't work as well going vertical. But we're going to go from the bottom to the top. So if we look at this and we talk about, well, where's the bottom of our circle? Well, the bottom of our circle is right here at +1. And the top of our circle is right here at +3. So for our range on this one, it goes from the number 1 to the number 3. And then a closed bracket on both of those. Again, because we do have a value at the 0.3, we do have a value at the 0.1, so we're using those closed off brackets. So remember, we're talking about domain and range. It's not like you're finding points on the graph. You're actually saying, where does the circle start? Where does it end? That's why when we have things that go on forever, we talk about going to infinity and negative infinity. So, for example, I'm going to do a very, very, very rough graph here. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. So again, here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis, and I'm going to go ahead and label here just so you can see. So let's say this time my graph is a parabola, which is that U-shaped graph. It looks like this, goes like this, goes like that. Oops. Did not mean for that to happen. Let me try that one more time. Here we go. There's my U shape. Okay, so when I talk about domain, we talk about those x values going across this way. Notice that this graph is going to continue going up as well as going out towards the right. And this one is going to continue going up as well as out towards the left. So when we look at this and talk about the domain, we would say that this is all real numbers because it's going to continue going out to the left. It's going to continue going out to the right. Now, it may take it a long time to get out to the right and the left, but it's going to continue going there. So for this one, we would say that our domain is all real numbers. And we can do that a couple of ways. We can go from negative infinity to positive infinity. Notice this time on my ends, I'm using those parentheses because we can't actually get to infinity. So that's kind of the difference between our parentheses and our brackets, is whether we can get there or not. We can't get to infinity, so we're going to use an open parentheses. If you don't like doing that, you could use the fancy R is what I call him. He actually stands for all real numbers. So just telling the same thing, that my domain is all real numbers. You can find the fancy R in your keypad on Hawks, so you can use that letter as well. For the range, again, remember my range is my up and down, so I'm looking at my y-axis this time, this guy right here. So notice that, again, if I'm starting at the bottom, my particular graph starts right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be at -5. But as I go up, as I look up on this graph, notice that he's going to, again, continue going up here, and he's going to continue going up here. So he is going to go out to infinity. So my range on this guy would be from -5. And since I do have a point, that's my vertex on my x-axis there, this would be, or excuse me, on my y-axis, this would be a bracket. And then since it's going to go up forever and ever, ever, that is going to be an infinity, and I'm going to use a parentheses on that side. And notice that my sides don't have to match. I use the bracket on the -5 because we actually have a point on our parabola at -5, but we used a parentheses on our infinity because our graph goes to forever and we can't ever get to infinity. If you need to see some more examples on how to do the parabola, just let me know, or how to do the domain range.